Well, hello and welcome to another in the series of Café Insights. I'm Andrew Vine. Today I'm in the presence of Mike Walsh at the Hyatt in Singapore. Welcome to Singapore again.
Oh, it's wonderful to be back in Singapore, Andrew.
Well, we've been working together this week on a couple of events, so I wanted to just take the opportunity to have a little chat to you and hear a little bit about what you're doing. So you're known as a futurist. You're helping us map the future of our businesses.
You know, in some ways I hate being called a futurist because sometimes I say futurist and people hear astrologer. And there's a deeper truth to that, because in many ways what I'm really interested in is not things 5, 10, 50 years out. It's actually easy predicting things that far out. What's much harder is knowing what to pay attention to in the next 18 months. And that is the time horizon that is the most difficult for companies, because the time horizon of which they have to make immediate investment decisions and very difficult decisions about what they need to do with their company.
Right. Well, I know, a lot of what you talk about is technology, but I think what differentiates you from a lot of people that do talk about technology is that you remind us very clearly that at the end of the day, it's not about the technology per se, it's about human beings and how they are interacting with it.
Absolutely. In fact, it is not the technology, it's the anthropology. And if you think about the kind of the beginnings of the Cambrian explosion around technology today, it originated not with the enterprise computer, but the personal computer. And so it was when you tip the massive humanity and all their complexities and problems and difficulties and combine that with technology in the early 80s, that's what really kicked off the incredible innovation we've had over the last couple of decades. It was the same with the internet. So I think that whatever kind of company you are today, whether you deal in the business enterprise market or you deal directly with consumers, it's being close to the human dimensions, the human scale of your problems that really illuminates the opportunities and the possibility for innovation.
And of course, even the working environments that we're creating is all about how people interact together, how they're using technology in a slightly different way.
Absolutely. I mean, the future of the office is not a better design building or better technology. It's understanding the dynamics of how people want to work in the 21st century. We have this bizarre situation, of course, that modern technology allows people to work from anywhere.
Right.
And many people have the ability now to work from home, but they don't want to work from home. They want to work in busy, noisy, crowded, cafe-like environments like the one we're in.
Right.
Actually, office-like environments in some ways, but just not your office.
Well, once upon a time, people would view coffee shops in London as a frivolous waste of time, but actually what it proved was when people got together, they started to talk and collaborate, and then, new ideas started to bloom. It was a renaissance.
Or generally start revolutions.
Possibly, that's it. I think what's really interesting as well is where you combine technological innovations, the human spirit, and the high growth markets, the great possibilities you see in emerging markets in particular. What does this mean, do you think, for Asia? Is Asia about to see a boom, do you think?
I actually think that Asia has always been degree zero for disruptive innovation. And I say that because if you look at a lot of the technologies we take for granted today, like smartphones, social networking, they really had their beginnings in things that happened in Asia for its unique properties. This was a market where you have credible technical innovation, you have very young populations, you have constraints both in terms of space as well as economics, and it's created a kind of a primordial soup of new ideas. The first social network originated from Korea. Mobile content came from Japan because of space constraints on subways. So this was really the birthplace of ideas that then accelerated and found their way to Silicon Valley.
I know it's a real challenge to kind of summarize in such a short space of time what it is in terms of creating the blueprint for the company of the 21st century, but I thought it would be worth having a go at identifying what you think the characteristics are. When we look in the future and say, now that was a successful company, what will it look like? What are the key elements we're going to see?
In some ways, we're in a new phase of the internet now. This is the industrial internet revolution. And what's tricky is that you can look at a company, and from the outside, it looks no different to what it was 5 years ago. But what's changed completely is the way it operates at the back end. There's a big struggle going on in Germany at the moment because the German regulators want to regulate Amazon as a retailer. But Amazon says they're not a retailer, they're a logistics company. So if you were to start a company for the 21st century, I think you have to start with a clean sheet of paper. You have to question every aspect of the way the business operates, from the idea of, do you have departments? Do you have job titles? How do you pay people? Do you build technology or do you subscribe to it? Do you build business processes or do you just subscribe to those as well? So I think the bold leader for the 21st century is one that is able to question every aspect of traditional business. Technology is a huge part of that, but it's those human aspects that are most interesting. So that's why I think, when you look at the hallmark of modern companies, what defines their success and their ability to innovate is actually the way their people work. And this is collaboration, but it's not collaboration technology. It's understanding the social graph of how people connect in an organization. I think in the near future, when we look at great companies, we'll actually model their internal social graphs, a bit like looking at the X-ray scan of a healthy patient, to understand what really makes them tick.
I know that another thing that you say quite often is that if you want to see what's going to happen tomorrow, all you really need to do is look a little bit more carefully at things that are already happening today. And in the event you throw out a few mind grenades of things that you should go and test, what would you suggest would be good indicators perhaps?
I always think that people who've got children have an unfair advantage on everyone else, because they have a frontline view of just how different their next generation of customers, employees, users is going to be. Especially if you've got kids born after 2007, which is effectively the introduction of the first smartphone. This is the ultimate litmus test on whether all of your strategic planning has been for nothing. So what I often do in my speeches is offer, as you mentioned, what I call mind grenades. And these are really just simple questions that are hopefully designed to illuminate just how much your thinking has to change in the next couple of years. So I ask people to imagine if your kids joined your organization, what is the first thing about your use of technology they would find utterly puzzling? I ask people to think, what are the roles in your team or your business which in 5 years will no longer exist? And what are the competencies you'd pay anything to acquire?
Well, Mike, it's been great talking to you. We have an exciting future to look forward to and to anticipate. Thank you very much again.
Great.
All the best as you fly off.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Andrew.